Welcome everyone to our 2020 summit, the Our Minds Matter 2020 summit. This is our fourth summit, and although it's looking a little bit different this year, we are so excited to have so many of you with us for our Mindfulness Workshop. So my name is Lauren Anderson. I am Executive Director of Our Minds Matter, and this is the rest of our team. We are all here with you on the back end. And just a little bit about Our Minds Matter. So Our Minds Matter was created in 2016 as the signature program of the Josh Anderson Foundation. Josh was a typical teenage boy, my brother, who died by suicide in 2009 at the age of 17. And the organization was created as a student-led change in school communities to equip teens with mental health knowledge, resources, and skills so they never die by suicide. And here we're just going to watch a little video so you can learn a little bit more about the Our Minds Matter movement.
Teens today are increasingly vulnerable to high stress, depression, and even suicide. The suicide rate among people ages 10 to 24 years old climbed 56% between 2007 and 2017. But together, we can change that trend. Students all over the nation are building skills to improve their mental health and working to change their school culture around mental health. Through a student-led movement called Our Minds Matter, students are holding club meetings to encourage self-care and healthy habits, promote social connectedness, increase help-seeking behaviors, increase pro-social behaviors, and organize school-wide campaigns to change the culture around mental health in their school. Each Our Minds Matter club has a club sponsor. An ideal club sponsor would be your school's psychologist, social worker, counselor, or teacher. This staff preferably has some mental health training, is passionate about supporting students, and is approachable. Each club also has a group of student leaders. Club leaders should be passionate about mental health, open-minded to diverse thinking and perspectives, and dedicated to making mental health a priority. Student leaders and club sponsors collaborate to determine their unique school needs, including club goals, meeting schedule, school-wide campaigns, and club promotion strategy. Our Minds Matter supports each club every step of the way with dedicated support staff that provides site visits, monthly check-ins, office hours for a club's leadership team, and more. Our Minds Matter also supports clubs with resources that include over 60 activities of different lengths with activity objectives, instructions, and discussion questions, plus a vast network of clubs so that students can share ideas with one another. We hope you will join the fight to end the stigma around mental health. Don't wait, join the movement today.
And now we will have our resiliency and mindfulness expert, Corinne, take us through our mindfulness workshop.
Welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Thank you for showing up today and taking care of yourself. So I'm really interested in knowing how many of you have ever done mindfulness before. So we're going to take an informal poll right now. It'll pop up on your screen.
We'll give everyone another minute and then we'll share the results.
Awesome. All righty. Okay, so most of you have, I'd say, 80% of you have, 88%, if I do my math correctly, have had some experience of doing mindfulness before. And a few of you have never done it. So yay for the ones that have never done it. Brave and bold you are. So welcome, welcome. So one of the things that mindfulness that I'm curious about is like what you might think mindfulness is. So if you can just in the chat, like why are you here today? What's your impression of mindfulness? If you can go ahead, and this is nothing's going to be wrong. So go ahead and just take time and put in the chat, why you're here, especially the peeps that, may have been here before or know what mindfulness is. Say, so quiet, let thoughts assimilate, relaxing. I'm here to help as many people as I can. Would like to help manage stress and anxiety, find a balance. I want to learn more and bring that education back to my school. Awesome. Great responses. I want to learn more about mindfulness so I can share it with other people in my club. Awesome. Yeah, so these are all really, really, I'm here to learn how to manage stress and anxiety, passionate about mental health, manage stress. So yeah, this is what a lot of people think, oh, mindfulness is a tool to manage stress. Yes, and is what I'm going to say. Because what it really allows us to do is to be in the present moment. So we can notice the signals that our body is giving us. As we get activated and as we get more stress, we can press the pause button, right? And at the same time, we're noticing what's going on around us. And I love this quote from Viktor Frankl. He's a Holocaust survivor. And I'm always really touched by his statement of between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space, is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and freedom. So that to me speaks volumes about how we can have agency in our everyday responses. And here's the thing, is that we are actually born to be mindful. So it's innate in us because we have our 5 senses. So anytime we're really paying attention in terms of looking at something, or we're smelling something or tasting something, or the sense of touch, any of the times that we're using these senses, we're being mindful because we're bringing attention to the present moment and what's happening. So mindfulness is actually a body-based skill, and we're born with it. So know that, right? Except the one thing is that we forget because nobody's ever taught us really how to pay attention. So this is just a way where we can bring our focus into alignment. So another analogy that I really love is this idea of puppy mind versus lion mind, right? So if we have a puppy mind, what does a puppy do? Puppy's like all over the place, like squirrel, 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 just like heightened distraction, constant distraction. And yet through mindfulness, and it is a practice, through mindfulness, we want to get to a place where we have this mind of a lion, like a lion who's like regal and dignified and has the response when it's necessary. So as a human, if I was dangling a bone in front of a puppy, they'd be like all over that bone, like, where's that bone? Where the lion is thinking, oh, there's a lot more bones in her body than there are in that single bone. So I'm going to wait until she gets rid of that bone and I'm going to jump on her. So and mindfulness is a practice. So with anything in life, we have to practice it over and over and over with intention. So we have these 2 wings is what it's called, intention and attention. So we want to show up with intention. So now we're going to move on to, what's your weather system is what I like to say, because we constantly, everything's changing in our lives. Like we might think, oh, I had such a bad day. I had this, this, and this happen. So that's what we focus on, right? But in every bad day, there's usually a few things that were actually good. So we're going to notice, and just like the weather, our moods change. So what I'm going to invite you to do now is we're going to launch a poll in terms of what's your weather system like? How are you feeling right now? Bright and sunny, sunny but cold, cloudy with a chance of rain, torrential downpour, maybe it's a hurricane watch. So just take a moment and answer that poll if you would kindly.
We have a lot of responses coming in. I will share the results shortly.
Okay, so just taking a moment and noticing where you are, it seems like a lot of people are sunny, just like it is outside today, right? There's a little clouds in the skies with some, and then, we have a hurricane watch, and so here's what I always challenge people to think about. We say we want our life to be nice and steady and straight, right? We don't want these like ups and downs and ups and downs. But here's the thing. If we were flatlining on a heart rate monitor, we wouldn't be breathing, we wouldn't be alive. So we're always going to have these ups and downs. And mindfulness is a way for us to navigate the waves a little bit more skillfully. So that's what we're going to be learning today. So I don't know how to get, okay. So if we can think of that our thoughts are like all over the place, just like bubbles, right? And bubbles, we get this sense of like a gentle image. So if you can think of yourself as a little child, right? And bubbles are everywhere. That actually creates, in me anyway, I don't know about you, but it creates this sense of joy and like playfulness. So instead of us looking at thoughts as like these heavy things and we can't really decipher them and we just want to get rid of them, that's not going to happen. They're always going to be there. But how can we not get attached to them and just let them float by instead of hijacking where we are right now and instead of hijacking into stories. So they're constantly moving. They're always going to be there. So just have a sense of that. Like, how can we befriend them instead of resist them? And we're actually mindfulness is a body-based practice. So we're paying attention to what's going on in our bodies because we go around the world paying attention to we live from the neck up, we live in the mind. So it's really good for us to get back in the body. So one of the things that I'm going to show you today is something called finger tracing. So you'll take one hand and open the hand, and with your breath, you're monitoring the other hand, the other finger, the pointer finger of the other hand. You're going to trace the hand of the open palm. So as you breathe in and you inhale, you'll take your finger up. As you exhale, you'll bring it back down. As you breathe in, up, exhale back down. And you can do this with your hand resting on your lap. So just keep on going with your breath. And we'll do this 3 times. And you can close your eyes. And it's your breath that's in charge of the movement. And just paying attention to the gentle touch on your hand. That's all we're doing, moving our finger with the breath. And one last time around the palm. Again, focusing on the touch of the finger, the inhale and the exhale being directed. and then release. And open your eyes if they're closed. And just in the chat, if you could just take a minute and just say what you noticed from that. What did you notice from doing that?
Yeah, it's very calming, ticklish sensation. I feel much calmer now. Calm, mind, quiet, tickles. It felt more quiet, like my mind was quiet. It made me more conscious of my breath.
How cold your fingers are is a good way to clear your mind. Yeah, so this is like a simple, like my goal with you all and like anyone I teach is to make this stuff simple, right? It's simple, but it's not easy because we forget to do it. So I'm going to be introducing a lot of different techniques today, and you're just going to notice as we go through which ones feel that you're gravitating to and like, oh, be curious, like, can I use that in my daily life? So we're going to go now into some brain science, because there is actually a science behind all this. So we're going to launch another poll. Laura Beth will. How many thoughts do you think we have in a day?
It's a lot of thoughts.
It is a lot of thoughts.
Okay, give a couple here. Alrighty, I'm going to share.
Okay. So yeah, we have a lot of thoughts. So they're somewhere between that 50,000 and 100,000, right? It's about, 60,000, 50, 60,000 thoughts a day. It's still a lot. The point is we have a lot of thoughts, and it's really hard to try and control these thoughts, right? As I said. So we are going to talk a little bit about the neuroscience of this. So some of you may be already familiar with what's called the negativity bias. And I love this quote from Rick Hansen: positive experiences are like Teflon, negative experiences are like Velcro. So, even being curious about your day as you go through it, just notice where your mind goes. Like when we get feedback from someone, we could have like 20 positive things said, but we focus naturally on that one thing that is negative. And it's because of this negativity bias that's inherent in us. And all we can do is really be aware of where our mind is going and then shift it. Because we're born with this. The negativity bias is something we're born with to keep us safe. So instead of it being a saber-toothed tiger that's coming at us, it might be a text that wasn't responded to, or the fact that we had a really cantankerous conflict with somebody, or something that we just feel like, how many of us, I asked this to my GW class this morning, like how many of us when we don't get a response think that we've done something wrong? Like everybody raised their hands, because we have this inherent belief that something must be wrong, like we did something wrong. Another thing to be noticing is mirror neurons. So, when you walk in a room and you can sense the energy of someone who's in the room with you, or even like over the screen now, because we're all virtual, right? Like if I got on the screen and I was like, yeah, so negativity bias, positive experiences are like Teflon, negative experiences are like Velcro. That's a really great quote by Rick Hansen. Very soon you're going to start to go to sleep and you're not going to be interested. And that's because there are these things called mirror neurons, where we connect with the energy of the person that we're with, or virtually with on screen right now, and we take in their experience and their energy. So always being aware of how we're showing up. And then we have this lovely stress response in the brain. if some of you have been with me before, it's the hand model of the brain, which we'll talk about next. But the stress response is the fight, flight, freeze, and then also this feigned death response. So you might feel like unmotivated and just not understanding, like, I used to be so motivated. Well, it can actually be a stress response that you're experiencing. And we have, like, another thing to just note in terms of thoughts that we have is that basically we have 3 categories of thoughts. We have pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. That's really it. So we're going to do an exercise now that we're going to notice where, actually we'll do that in a minute. Let me show you the hand model of the brain first. So if you go ahead and make a fist, just like I'm doing, because I'm going to invite you to teach this to maybe family members or maybe your class tomorrow. But the hand model of the brain, so if you can be a little creative and imagine that your hand's the brain, and if you open your palm and you close the thumb would be the amygdala, and this is where the big emotions lie. That's where our reptilian brain lies, because our brain develops from the back to the front. Most of you probably know that the brain fully develops between the ages of 25 and 26, so you're smack dab in the middle of development. And then if you wrap the fingers around that thumb, that forms what's known as the prefrontal cortex, which is the wise owl. That's where we make decisions, we have executive functioning. Now, if we're in amygdala mode, so if we're in the fight, flight, or freeze, or feign death, then we've flipped our lid, literally and figuratively, and we cannot access the front of the brain and the wisdom that sits there. So we can do some things to notice and to bring our brain back online. So that's what we're going to do with mindfulness. So the first exercise we're going to do is to help us with negativity bias in a way. You know, we're going to notice where our thoughts are going in the past, present, or future. So we're just going to name them, and it's just going to be a few minutes that you'll notice that you're there. So go ahead and close your eyes or cast them down. It's just an invitation. And this is an exercise called Name It to Tame It. So all we're doing is noting thoughts right now. So you'll notice, oh, past. You'll just say those words to yourself as you're noting where your thoughts are going. So every time you notice you're in thought, you'll notice where you're going. And then gently open your eyes, come back into the present moment, and we'll launch a poll. Just, did you notice where you spent most of your time? The past, present, future, or you didn't notice? Okay, great. So all over the map, just like our thoughts are all over the map, right? And this is just a way to notice, oh, I'm hanging out in the past, which we can do nothing about. I'm hanging out in the future, which we can do nothing about, right? And all we can do is something here right now in the present moment. So another thing that I'm going to just show you a quick exercise is, you know, that hand exercise in terms of like flipping the lid. This is a really good trick. I love teaching this. This is one of my favorite things. And if you saw the IGTV video, you might be familiar with this. So we're just going to do a peaceful pause right now. So go ahead and place a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly. And you can close your eyes for this, because just placing this simple act of placing a hand on your heart, it's as if you're giving yourself a hug. So the positive hormones, the serotonin and the dopamine, get released just by simply like saying to yourself, I'm here right now. And then as you're ready, you'll just take a couple of deep breaths in through the nose and then out through the mouth. Go ahead and do that on your own, breathing in and then out. And one last time, in and then out. Great. So notice your weather system right now. Notice if it's changed from, you know, the past, present, and future. Maybe that made you feel a little anxious, like, oh, my mind's all over the place, right? I'm starting to worry. And that's a way that you can bring yourself back down, just in the moment. Because we can probably, with all the worries that we have, the past and the future, we could probably fill like a poster board, right? But actuality, what actually happens, maybe happens on a Post-it note. So just keep that in mind. Again, that, you know, we're trying to share with you now that the thoughts are just thoughts. They're not really what's happening right now in this moment. Okay. So this is one of my favorite exercises. What we're going to do next is called the purple elephant exercise. So I'm going to invite you to look at the purple elephant just for a moment. And then I'm going to invite you to try not to think about the purple elephant. So go ahead and close your eyes or cast them down and just try to not think about that purple elephant. Don't think about the purple elephant at all. And we'll just let you sit for, 30, 60 seconds. But try not to think about that purple elephant. Okay, so open your eyes if they're closed. Come on back. Take a deep breath. And we'll launch another poll. So where did you focus your attention? Was it your surroundings? Was it the purple elephant? Mine was everywhere. Homework.
A few more votes coming in.
Okay, great. So your mind's everywhere, on the surroundings. You can't help but think about the purple elephant, even though I said not to think about the purple elephant, right? So this goes to show us that it's really difficult to control our thoughts, right? They're like those bubbles. So there's not a lot that we can do about that. So what's within our locus of control? And this is where we get to show you the mind-body reset. So here we're going to do a couple of practices here. So if it's helpful for you, you can certainly, move a little bit in your chair, do a little twist, maybe roll your head and neck a little bit. You all might have been in school all day, so you need to just take a little bit of a stretch. So go ahead and take that. And I'd even invite you, if it feels good for you, feel free to stand up, because we have 3 different postures, what we say in mindfulness. Well, 4 really. There's walking mindfulness or walking meditation, there's standing, there's lying down, and there's sitting. So to be perfectly honest, you can go ahead and take one of those postures if you're familiar with any of them. So for right now, I'm sitting. So for those of you who are able to, go ahead and sit. And again, we'll cast our eyes down or close them. And we're first going to work with the anchor of sound. So an anchor helps us to focus our attention. So go ahead and just notice what sounds are around. What sounds are around you that are really far away? So start perhaps with sounds that are far away from you. And then a little bit closer in. Just notice sounds that are closer in towards you. Maybe they're inside the room that you're sitting. And then all sounds together. And notice if your attention is resting on one sound in particular, that you can just connect with that one sound. And that's where you'll rest your attention. So every time your mind wanders, you'll bring it back to that focus, that anchor of sound. So go ahead and do that just for the next minute or so. Again, just paying attention to the sound and notice if your mind's wandered. And that's awesome if your mind's wandered. That is mindfulness. So go ahead and open your eyes if they're closed. Come back into present. And so in the chat, if you would be so kind to say what you noticed from the sound exercise. Okay. Deep attention to my surroundings. I felt more stable when I focused on the sound of my breath. Lots of crickets ready to take a nap. Sound of the wind, relaxing. Sounds from nature that I wouldn't have realized otherwise. Somebody's mind didn't really wander all that much. Close to blank mind, I felt my heart beat more. Much more aware of everything. Yeah, these are all, and that was like maybe 2 minutes, 1 minute. Awesome. Thanks everyone for sharing these. And sound is a beautiful anchor because it's something that's neutral, right? If we're judging a sound, like say we hear a siren or we hear a loud bang and it's distracting, that's a judgment we're putting on it. But if we can focus our attention, it can help us. Again, it's using a sense and we're focusing right here, not on the story that's going on in our mind. Okay. So now we get to do another exercise. This is a body scan that we're going to do now. This is actually one of my favorite things to do, is a body scan, because we have 3 different anchors. So I showed you sound, we have the body, and then also the breath. So we'll see if we have enough time to do the breath today, but the body and the sound tend to be the easiest because it's more grounding. When we're doing the breath, it can be even more distracting. Some people do find that the breath is easy, So we'll see what we can do. So I'll try and combine using the breath and the body in this one exercise. So go ahead and get yourself to a more upright position. Again, maybe you need to move your head and neck around, like roll your shoulders. And then you'll just gently, close your eyes or cast them down. This allows you to shift from external focus to internal focus. And it allows our senses to be a little bit more sharper. So we can start with sound and just taking in the sound around us. That's what we'll do first. Just taking in that sound around us. And then gently bring attention to the soles of the feet, just to the bottoms of the feet. Maybe you can feel your feet on the ground. Maybe you've got socks on or in shoes, or maybe you're barefoot. Just really a gentle attention at the feet. And then guiding the tension up the body to the ankles, the legs, the lower legs, the knees, the upper legs, and maybe where your connection is to your chair. Noticing the lower back, the mid back, the upper back. A gentle attention to the spine that flows from the base of the spine, the tailbone, all the way up to the top of the neck. Just noticing that. And then down to the tops of the shoulders. So right here on the tops of the shoulders. And then the front of the chest. And as you're at the front of the chest, notice maybe you can feel the breath coming in and out. As you rest a gentle attention at the chest. Maybe you can feel your heartbeat. And then going down a little bit, the front of the body where the ribs and the belly are. Maybe you can feel the breath a little deeper there. And then coming back up the body to the area of the neck, the face, the jaw. Noticing the area around the eyes, the forehead, top of the head. And as if there is ice melting, you'll imagine the ice melting, or maybe under a waterfall, just the water coming down the body, softening the shoulders, softening the arms and the hands, any areas of tension, just back down the body, down the legs. Noticing the feet. And then as you're ready, you gently open your eyes, come back to the present moment. Alrighty. And what did you notice this time? What did you notice in the body scan? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Relaxing. Noticing areas of the body that were tense and then releasing them. Feeling every muscle in the body relax. Awareness of my surroundings. So someone found it more difficult than the sound. Much more aware of the body. Certain parts of my body were tense. Forgot where you were sitting, right? Because you're so focused on your body. Yeah, and this connection. Wow, I didn't notice that I held stress in my body, right? Wasn't sure that I'd be able to focus on the body as well as you did. And then, the mind drifted some, and that's natural, right? So just notice what we're doing in mindfulness is we're noticing these different experiences. We're just coming to our experience with curiosity and kindness, right? We're always so hard on ourselves. But this is like, hey, can we imagine ourselves like with like a little kid? Like, what does it feel like to like notice the sound around us? What does it feel like to notice my hands? What does it feel like to notice my feet? So these can be like even your elbow. The elbow is a great place to rest your attention because it's neutral. So if you're doing this at home on your own, like this is the body scan that I just went through is helpful when you want to go to sleep. You might have really a lot of things going on in your mind, and you can just do it yourself. Just go up and down the body, or you can start at the head and go down the body. So whichever works for you. There's no hard and fast rule. You can't get this wrong. That's the great thing about mindfulness, is you can't get it wrong because this is your experience. That's all it is. Okay, so moving on. Thanks you guys for being so participatory. I really appreciate all of the participation. So now we're going to move on to one of my favorite subjects, actually, is this idea of compassion versus empathy. So we often see them as intertwined, like substitutes for each other, but there is a difference between compassion and empathy. So empathy is when we're really stepping into somebody else's shoes, that we're feeling their pain, we're feeling their angst, we're feeling their worry. And when that happens, it doesn't allow us to go through our lives as easily as possible. So compassion is a little different than empathy, because what it is it's, oh, I see someone is suffering and I want to do something to alleviate that suffering. So it allows you to act upon it rather than just react, right? So that we're able to respond with awareness. What can I do for this person right now? 9 times out of 10, people just really want you to listen. They want to be seen, they want to be heard. And how many times do we say, when somebody asks us, how are you doing? We say fine, or we say good, right? Maybe you can take an extra moment and say, you know, I really care about you. How are you doing really? And then letting the space be there to hear what they have to say. It doesn't mean you have to get into the story with them. It doesn't mean that you have to rescue them or fix them. I mean, think about it. When you have a problem, I mean, for me anyway, when I have a problem, I just want somebody to listen. I don't want them to fix it. Like, I want to be able to fix it. So just think about that the next time that you're interacting with somebody. Hey, yes, we can show empathy, but that can cause us a certain amount of burnout if we take all that in. So what can I do to alleviate the suffering of this person right now? Oops. Okay, so we're going to do an exercise right now. I'm giving you all my favorite ones. This is called a difficult moment. So we all have difficult moments. Sometimes we have difficult days, sometimes we have difficult weeks, but really we're living moment by moment. So I'm going to invite you to think of a time that's not too triggering. You know, you're going to think of something like, if it's on a scale of 1 to 10, like maybe something that's around a 5 or 6 of difficulty that you've experienced. It could be in the last week, in the last month, it could be today even, you know. So you're just going to take a moment, maybe close your eyes or cast them down. Again, something that you feel comfortable doing. And just taking a moment and visualizing that difficulty that you had. Maybe it was a math problem, you know, maybe it was a negative exchange with a family member. Just take a moment and really notice the time of day, take in the details of that. And just take an inventory of any physical sensations that you're experiencing as you're bringing this to mind. Sometimes there could be shallow breath or sweaty palms, or, you know, just notice the front of the body. Maybe you have butterflies in your stomach. You're just going to notice. And you're going to take a moment and take a hand and place it on the heart. And you're going to say things to yourself that you'd want someone to say to you. So I'm going to run through some examples, but you can make this your own. So just saying, this is really hard right now. This is difficult. This is not easy. I'm with you. I'm here for you. I have your back. It's going to be okay. Everyone goes through this. This too will pass. It won't always be like this. I love you. I'm here for you. You can do hard things. I can do hard things. And then I'll leave a couple of moments just for you to fill in the blank of what statements might be comforting for you to hear. What would you say to a friend who was struggling, or what would you want to hear? And just saying those words to yourself. And taking a deep breath and coming back into the moment. Okay, how's your weather system doing? We'll launch a poll right now. What did you notice? Did the intensity of the difficulty decrease? Do you feel calmer? Do you feel more stressed? It didn't make a difference. Again, your experience is your experience, so no judgment here. Okay.
More coming in. Just give everyone a couple more seconds.
All right. So about a majority of you felt calmer, or the intensity decreased. And then for some, you feel more stressed and it didn't make a difference. And that's okay, right? Like, so I'm giving you all these different tools. So some will connect and some won't. And that's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. That's what I want to really impress upon you. It's like, we're just experimenting here. We're being curious. Oh, you know what? That didn't really work for me. Let's see what else is in the bag of tricks, And for those of you that this did work, this can really help. Okay. Thanks so much. I'm really appreciating everybody's involvement. Okay. So self-compassion. So this can be a really prickly subject. Self-compassion. Like compassion, I can have compassion for other people, but when it comes to me, I don't know, we have this part of ourselves that's called the inner critic, right? And the inner critic can be really loud to us. Actually, that difficult moment exercise, maybe you found yourself being harder on yourself about that difficult moment, right? It's really hard to be kind to ourselves. But the more that we can practice self-compassion, it changes our viewpoint of the world. We're more optimistic, we have more gratitude, and we have better relationships with others because we're more understanding of ourselves. So the more tolerant we are of ourselves, the more tolerant we'll be of others. We have more resilience when we can be compassionate. So a lot of research has been said, there's one of my favorite quotes are, our setbacks are set-ups for our comebacks, right? So our setbacks are set-ups for our comebacks. And sometimes we don't feel that way. Believe me, I've been there. But, you know, can we look at things where we've had difficulty and say, okay, what can I learn from this? What was the lesson, right? And then also people who practice self-compassion are less stressed. It's a powerful antidote to critical thinking and perfectionist thinking. And that mindset of like perfectionism can really, really be our biggest enemy. You know, we speak to ourselves much more unkindly than we would speak to someone else. So the more that we can be aware of what we're saying to ourselves, the more that we can then shift it and say some kind things, right? So we'll just take a moment here and we'll do sort of a loving kindness exercise here. So go ahead and put your hand on your heart. And I just am going to invite you to imagine and close your eyes or cast them down. Imagine someone who you feel unconditionally loved by or accepted by, and it can be a human or it could be a pet. Just allow them to come into your mind's eye. So just visualizing them in this moment. And notice the characteristics or attributes that they may have that really draw you to them, that, you know, that you feel so safe and loved with them. Like, what do they have? What characteristics? You can just name them in your mind's eye. And just notice how you feel just imagining this person sitting across from you, or this pet, or this being. You know, just notice the physical sensations in the body and around the area of the heart or the belly. Maybe even notice a smile coming across your face. And then gently, as you're able, go ahead and open your eyes. Come back to the moment. You might even still be smiling, right? And so this is the power of our minds. This is what's so beautiful to me, is like, oh, we do have control. I can remember that I am loved. I can remember that I do matter, that this being, this pet or this human, really, really, you know, I'm cared for. So bringing that sense of being cared for to yourself. And as you know, we deserve our own self-compassion and grace, right? We deserve it. Okay. Thanks everyone so much for your attention. In closing, what we'd like to know is what your favorite exercise was with us today. So the finger tracing, the sound, the body scan, past, present, future, difficult moment, purple elephant. And they were all great. You just can't choose.
Give everyone 10 more seconds to cast their vote. Getting a lot of thank yous. Thank you all for being here.
And
a couple more.
Yeah, because we don't want you to leave yet. Don't leave yet. We have a little bit more to go. You're so welcome for those saying thank you. Okay, awesome. See, this is perfect because we had answers that were all over the board. And this is exactly the purpose of mindfulness, is how, you know, different experiences for each person. So what I'm curious and what we're all curious is, like, what one thing will you implement from this workshop today? So go ahead and put that in the chat. What is one thing? Body scan. Focusing on sounds, not fixating things you cannot change. Amen. Right? Empathy versus compassion. Sound, the mind of a lion. Past, present, future. Purple elephant. Focusing on sounds, being kind to myself. Excellent. I'll do these activities each day in the morning. Yeah, so pick a time of day that you're going to do this one thing. That's all we're going to do, just one thing. And your life will begin to change, I promise. Just one thing. Okay? Awesome. So in closing, I don't know if you guys want to say anything else. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you all for being here and for being great participants. If you want to learn more about Our Minds Matter, you can visit our website at www.ourmindsmatter.org, and you can follow us on Instagram at r.minds.matter. And like Corinne said, she did a couple mindfulness tips there, so those are recorded there. In addition, this session has been recorded, so we're currently live streaming on Facebook. Hello to everyone who's on Facebook with us today, but we'll post this on our YouTube as well.
And I'll have some, oh, go ahead.
Our contact information is ourmindsmatter.org and our Instagram. So if you go to the next slide, Corinne, we have Corinne's website listed, CorinneCoppola.com. And then my email is laurabeth@ourmindsmatter.org. We will be sending a follow-up email with a few survey questions, just 3, just so you can give us some feedback to improve our next session on Wednesday, September 30th, same time. In addition to, Corinne is offering a Coping with COVID for teens, and she will be sending out information from there. And then lastly, important that if you feel like you have a mental health challenge or a crisis, or maybe you just need someone to talk to, these are our resources. Corinne?
Yeah, sorry.
You're fine. 1-800-273-8255 if you'd like to call in. Text CONNECT to 741-741, or you can text START to 678-678 for LGBTQIA or gender questioning youth. And something important to know about these resources, you don't have to be going through a crisis. You might just need someone to talk to, and that's okay. So don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you all for being here, and hopefully we'll see you next week.